Hello guys, welcome back to this channel. I'm Dr. Ojo. Today let's talk about the important things you need to take note on your application if you're applying to universities or departments that do not require any exams. Let's go. All right, welcome back. So let's just get right into it. Nowadays, it's become popular that you would get waivers for GRE or TOEFL. Now, in this case, how do graduate committees review your application? What are the important things that you now need to take seriously on your application? Now, of course, they will list all the requirements, but there are certain things you need to take note. Before now, when TOEFL, English exams, and GRE were very important, they typically use this to assess, especially for international students, they use this to assess how well you can cope with the rigor of grad school and also the need to speak and understand English for international students. But nowadays, you start seeing that some of these exams are being waived in certain schools, and this wave started coming, after COVID. So it has continued, and a lot more departments are exiting the requirements for GRE, which is great. If you ask me, it's good because most of us, especially most of us coming from countries outside the US, Africa, or certain parts of Asia, we really struggle a lot to pay for some of these fees. So removing these exams is great. But now it comes with a downside, and the downside is now a lot more people have access to submitting application for grad school because some of these barriers have been removed. So that means you would have increase in applications, right? And now you have to compete with a lot more people. So what are the important things that you need to take note? Number one, the important thing is now your GPA, your grade point average, is now very important. Now we can have the argument all day about GPA doesn't really tell us everything about a candidate, and yes, that's true in many cases, but still it's a good metric for many programs to ascertain if you can be trusted to be successful as a student that would mostly be independent in grad school. So your GPA becomes important. So if you are deficient or if you do not meet the requirement, I'm not saying it's impossible, but now becomes a little more difficult for you to gain that admission. Now, I'm not saying it's totally impossible, but I'm just now saying that they will start looking or scrutinizing your transcripts. That will be important. Now, secondly, the quality of your referees. These people have to really dig deep into why you are important and why you are special, why you are qualified, regardless of if you have a good GPA or not, right? So they really have to dig deep into why you are the one, why you are him, why you are her. So let's just say why you are very, very qualified, outside whatever they've seen on your CV, right? Or your transcript. So with that, they need to give specific examples and be able to describe, how you have really shown that you are special in the past. Now, I made a video about, how to write referees, and I suggested in that video that you should try to draft these letters for your referees. I've seen many cases, especially for professors outside the US, they really don't understand how deep they need to get in these letters. So if you can, please draft it for them. I'll link a video below where you can learn how to draft some of these letters. So basically just request that, just tell them, sir, if you don't mind, I can, send you a draft that you can edit and, send as your reference letter. And most of the time they will accept. So you can draft and send it to them. So quality of your referees and what they write in the letter, the content of the letter now becomes very important. Okay, now your CV has to now really be on point. Okay, outside just your transcript, we said transcript or GPA and your referees, the quality of your referees. Now the third thing is your CV now has to really be explanatory. You really need to be clear on what your achievements are, your experiences, and you might now put a little detail on the activities or specific roles that you had while you were going through certain work or study experience. Okay, so just want to be a little detailed in your CV to really be able to explain what these particular roles have done to your preparedness for grad school. Now, I'm not saying you should write it as a long story, but you know how we do bullet points, right? I have a summary, a very simple CV in the free course that I have on our website, so you can check that out. And I'm going to add more CV samples so that you can, follow some of these ideas for your own CV. So your CV becomes very important. Now, lastly, I'm going to go back to your transcript now. Initially when I talked about transcript, I just mentioned overall GPA. Now, in many cases, I've seen situations where a student had like a good overall GPA, met requirements, but when they now started looking at specific courses, especially those in the last 2 years of your undergraduate program, they really count these classes as the most important, because those will be senior level classes, right? Where you will learn more advanced stuff. So if you start having bad results towards the end of your program, it could affect or impact your chances. So those are some of the things they look at, how you can cope with higher level courses. So they use your last 2 years of undergrad to measure that. So in many cases, they don't just look at your overall transcript. They look at specific areas of your transcript. So if you are still in school, that means you need to make sure you finish strong. It's not just important to do well in your first year or second year. Now you have to try to do well. And if you are in a master's program currently, try to do really, really well in those upper level courses during your master's. Okay, that will become important. So remember, I've not even mentioned SOP. So your statement of purpose is like on a lower scale in this situation, because they will first look at all these things. Then they will now get to your statement and say, hey, let me get to know this person better. That's really what your statement of purpose is all about. Most of the time, it's not the first thing they would read in your application, but when they are impressed with what they've seen in the other documents, then they might now want to spend more time to get to know you as a candidate, your background, and your preparedness for this program that you applied for. Okay, in your SOP, this is where you now have to really market yourself and be clear about your goals, aka your purpose, because it's called statement of purpose, right? Your purpose for grad school, and not just for grad school, your purpose beyond grad school as well. And importantly, you need to tell them how you are a good fit with their program. Now, immediately after this video, I'm going to shoot a video that would explicitly talk about the common mistakes I usually see when I review statement of purpose from students. Okay, so I'm going to talk about that and how you can improve that. Okay, so I hope what I've explained today gives you some clarity on how they would review, or how they would try to ascertain if you're a good candidate or not, if you happen to apply to schools that do not require any exams. The point of this video is not to discourage you. Waiving exams is a great thing. Rather, the point of this video is to give you clarity on what your application review process will look like, so that you can ensure that you hit all the right buttons with your reference letters, your CV, and your statement of purpose. Okay, if you already have your transcript, there is really nothing you can do about it, right? But you can still do something about the other things I mentioned. So that's the whole purpose of this video, and I hope you will take this and keep improving your applications so that you can get that position that you truly, truly desire and deserve.